Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. In this video, I am going to read an article for you that pretty much outlines the Black Lives Matter movement, how it was formed, what it stands for, what it represents, and all of that, including their occultic practices, invoking of spirits, and ancestral worship. It also goes into what their real and true agenda is. In a later video, I will come back and I will share my thoughts. I just want to outline for you or give you from their own mouths quotes that have been made by them, things that they have stated, and pretty much their whole agenda. Stay tuned for the true agenda of Black Lives Matter, and I will be back on another video with my commentary. Black Lives Matter co-founder, LA chapter leader discusses group's occultic practices of invoking spirits, African ancestral worship. In an interview posted to social media, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patisse Cullors, along with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles co-founder Melina Abdullah, discussed the spiritual component of the movement, explaining the practices and rituals performed to remember and invoke the spirits of deceased African Americans. We speak their names, and you kind of invoke that spirit, and then their spirits actually become present with you, Abdullah, a professor at California State University, stated during the discussion hosted by Fowler Museum at UCLA. Cullors outlined that she was raised Jehovah's Witness, and ancestral worship became really important as she got older. She said that she felt a responsibility to honor the deceased politically and spiritually. In my tradition, one who passed away would want, whether it's honey or tobacco, or things like that, she said, referring to the creation of an ancestor altar, which is also practiced in African cultures. It's so important, not just for us to be in direct relationship to our people who've passed away, but also for them to know we've remembered them. I believe some of them work through us. The site Crescent City Culture advises, at its core, hoodoo is a practice of ancestral veneration. The honoring and even worshiping of ancestors is practiced around the world. Many African religions have a foundation in the belief that one's ancestors play an active role in the life of the living even after death. The spirits of the dead are invited in the households so that they may influence the family and provide blessings and protection. Why would we not honor the people who have been stolen from us and are asking for us to fight for them? Cullors asked. They want us to remember them because they know what it takes to them to be remembered. She explained that even in using hashtags, people are literally almost resurrecting the spirit so they can work through us to get the work done. Abdullah explained that whenever there is a word of an African American person losing their life, likely in relation to law enforcement incidents, they go out and pray, pour libation. Libation is an act that is defined as a ritual pouring of a liquid as an offering to a god or spirit, or in memory of those who have passed on. As previously reported in 2018, Abdullah poured libation and summoned the spirit of a number of deceased African American leaders during an event at a Hollywood United Methodist Church. She instructed those gathered to declare ash as she made declarations and poured bottled water into a plant. According to the website yagbionalu.com, ash or ace means so be it, and is an African philosophical concept through which the Yoruba or Nigeria conceive the power to make things happen and produce change. Ash among the Yoruba is associated with the very force which is life and brings them into being in the universe. It is also associated with the power of speech, as can be seen in its meaning of command, ordain, and law. The site explains, stating that he, Yoruba, believes that men possess the power to speak things into existence. We summons those spirits that are still with us. We summon those people whose bodies have been stolen, but whose souls are still here, Abdullah said. We call on Waukesha Wilson. We call on George Jackson, Eric Garner, and all of those whose bodies have been stolen. We ask that you be with us. We ask that you work through us. We ask that we do righteous work on your behalf, she continued in speaking to the dead. It took me almost a year for me to realize that this movement is much more than a racial and a social justice movement. At its core, it's a spiritual movement because we are literally standing on spilled blood, Abdullah said during her recent interview with Colors, adding that she knows the BLM co-founder has viewed the issues as spiritual for some time. When we first started, I remember us going to the ocean and doing these rituals and really feeding our spirit, she outlined. Colors also explained that she considered whether there was room in the BLM movement for spirituality and said that she realized there was a need for protection as we started to be more targeted. I feel like so many leaders and so many organizers are deeply engaged in a pretty important spiritual practice, she said of BLM's work. Colors cited an article published by the Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs entitled, "The Fight for Black Lives is a Spiritual Movement." The movement for Black Lives infuses a syncretic blend of African and indigenous cultures, spiritual practices, and beliefs, embracing ancestor worship, Ifa-based rituals such as chanting, dancing, and summoning deities, and healing practices such as acupuncture, Reiki, therapeutic massage, and plant medicine in much of its work, including protest, the article stated in part. As previously reported, Black Lives Matter was formed by Colors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi in 2013 in response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the shooting death of teenager Trayvon Martin. Colors is a self-described queer. Garza identifies as lesbian, and Tometi is a self-described feminist. While the tragic deaths of Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown were catalysts for the emergence of the BLM movement, the bio for Garza states, in order to truly understand how devastating and widespread this type of violence is in America, we must view this epidemic through a lens of race, gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity. During an interview in 2015, Colors acknowledged that the group is led by trained Marxists and talked about the group's aim to include homosexual and transgender African Americans. It was important for us as women, two of which are queer, to actually talk about the totality of Black life, she said during an interview with Jared Ball of I Mix What I Like and Real News Network, and that Black CIS gender men are not some of Black people, but rather all Black people, being the totality of Black people. Colors added that the group's definition of totality would include Black transgender folk, those who have been incarcerated or currently behind bars, and those with disabilities. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. The BLM Cites What We Believe page also outlines. We are self-reflective and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift Black trans folk, especially Black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. We build a space that affirms Black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environment in which men are centered. It continues, we foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather, the belief that all in the world are heterosexual, unless he, she, or they disclose otherwise. Stay tuned for part 2 as we bring to you our commentary on the true agenda of Black Lives Matter. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.